I mean, why not? It's been a hot summer, right? It's been a
Yeah,
very hot summer. So
yeah.
what better way to cool down the summer after a long stretch of a heat wave than to talk about winter fishing, ice fishing and darkhouse spearing uh more specifically. So
You're listening to Inside the Outside, where the wild talks back.
Ryan Gast from Tradewell Decoys is our guest today. Good day to everybody. Ryan, you're the very first official guest on Inside the Outside podcast. How does that make you feel?
I feel honored.
You
I
should.
feel honored, actually, if anyone wants to listen to me, but, no, I'm honored to be on your first show, so thank you.
I
Appreciate
had
it. I
a I
appreciate
had
you
a
reaching out to me. It's,
Yeah, of course. You're world renowned. You're strikingly handsome. You're kind of like a Tom Cruise doppelganger, so it was kind of a no-brainer. I had a bunch of other like celebrities that wanted the first slot, and I was like, no, we're going small town Minnesota boy. Let's do it. Let's go. And again, hot summer. Why not talk about ice fishing? Because I'm already itching.
yeah,
I'm getting the itch to get out on the ice. I'm already excited for it.
yeah. I feel
But it's
like the hotter the summer, the more I think about spearing.
I know, I know. And normally, like this time of year, normally like August is starting. We're
Mhm,
right around the corner for bow hunting,
yeah,
and it's like, ooh, I'm getting pumped up for bow hunting. But this year,
yeah,
I'm like, I'm looking past hunting already. I'm going, I can't wait for ice. I can't wait for ice. I miss it already.
yeah.
But yeah, so thanks for coming on. It's an honor to have such a well-known, world-renowned decoy carver and pike spear such as yourself. So thank you. Um, so as I mentioned, I want to talk about like where our listeners and viewers can find your socials, your stuff. If somebody wants to buy a decoy, order a decoy, how do they get in touch with you? Where do they find all of your socials? And just a quick reminder for everybody that is watching on YouTube, all of Ryan's socials are down at the very bottom, scrolling across the entire time. So if you don't hear it or you miss it, it's all down at the bottom for you. But where would be the best place, Ryan, for people to find you and then reach out for if they want a decoy?
I'd say 90% of my way people reach out to me currently is through Facebook or Instagram. Uh, it's funny, Facebook, I feel like, is kind of the old man's game, but it would be really surprised how many people actually message me on there. And that's probably 90% of how people contact me. And it's really easy on Facebook or Instagram. I can't even tell you what my technical handles are on there, but it's Tradewell Decoys. If you search Tradewell Decoys, it should pop up. Same with YouTube. Those are probably the three main things where I would have stuff on there. I don't post a lot to YouTube currently, but that may change here in the future. Mainly Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is more of my picture page. Some of the times I'll switch it over to Facebook, but yeah, those are kind of the main ways. I kind of made the decision not to do a lot of orders probably about maybe 3 years ago. I do some once in a while if I have time. I work full time,
Yep.
so
Yep.
I do this as a hobby. It is become probably more than a hobby for me, but if I can do it, I'll do it. Otherwise, I post a lot of the decoys that I have available on my social media. So, I hit up a few different shows throughout the year. That's the main place I sell now. But once in a while on eBay, I'll throw
Okay.
something on there.
Okay.
Um,
I never think of eBay. That's the one
yeah,
I found a couple decoys on there, but I never it's like the last place I think of, and then I find something. It might have
yeah.
been I can't remember if it was one of yours that was somebody who made a tribute or a
Hmm.
they were selling it for a fundraiser.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. That might have been Jared
Jared.
Sipneski.
Yep.
Yeah, yep.
Jared.
And
Yep.
he lives down kind of in your area.
Yeah, I don't think he lives too far from me actually.
Yeah, a friend of ours' dad was having some medical issues, so he posted on there. And actually, I've had a lot of luck on eBay. It's you reaching a bigger crowd, people that don't live by you, and like a lot of people that I hang out with, they don't do a lot of orders, so Kind of one of the easiest way to get a hold of one is through eBay. So
Okay.
it
Or
works
go
out.
to or go to one of the shows.
Yeah,
The
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 shows.
and the next one coming up, that's in Clearwater, Minnesota, and is that in early December or late November?
So I will probably miss some, but I know there's one coming up here in, I should have had a sheet in front of me. Michigan, out at
Oh, okay.
Cadillac, and that's in September. I want to say it's like the second weekend in September. And then uh Grand Rapids has one. Well, actually, we have one up in Bijou, just like 20 minutes away from me. That's
Okay.
the third week in November, and that is when I go to. It's for us up here, it's the weekend after deer hunting's over, the weekend after. And then Grand Rapids has one the Friday after Thanksgiving, Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Mhm.
And then it's a Clearwater show in December, and I believe that one is the weekend before the weekend of Christmas. So, and then there's some other ones spattered throughout there in Alexandria, and Perham's kind of the big show that
Right.
a lot of us go to. It's a 2.5 day show. It's big gymnasium full of people selling decoys and spears and everything related. But have you ever been to a show?
I have attempted probably a dozen times, and I've never got it to work out. Last year, I was gonna go to the show, and then another trade show that I was doing got moved, and I had to
Yeah,
go to that one instead, so I missed out
sure.
again. And Perm, I
Yeah.
always miss the Perm one. That's the one I wanna go to the most, and
It's in April, so it's kind
yeah,
of weird time of year to have one. It
yeah, it
works out
sneaks up
great
on
for
you.
us because we're not spearing anymore and we have
Yep.
time to work on them, and it gives us time to get a few ready. But um, the shows before Christmas are actually pretty good too. Like Jared's, if you have a chance, since it would be closer to you. I know he's doing it at a different place this year. He's trying to line up a spot, but down by Clearwater or
Mhm.
Monticello, wherever he decides to do it.
Okay.
That's a really good show. It's packed and busy, and he does door prizes and everything else. So,
Yeah, it
um,
looks like I just looked it up. It looks like that one's on December 13th
oh, it
this
is
year.
okay. So it's
Yep,
not as close to Christmas as I thought it
yep,
was, but
yep. I don't know, I'll have to check the other show that I do right around that time. I can't remember if
yeah,
it's on the 13th or not. If it's not,
yeah,
I was gonna try to reach out to Jared. I might have reached out to Jared. Unlike you, the Tom Cruise doppelganger, I don't think Jared returned my message, but we'll hold that against him at some other later time.
well, he's following your stuff now because we had just talked yesterday, and I
Oh,
asked him if
nice.
he knew you, and he's like, "Ah, I don't know if I do."
No.
And then he started clicking on your stuff, and so he is aware of your stuff now, and he's said he's going to start watching some of it. So
Oh, cool. I'll reach out 'cause,
yeah,
I have plenty of things I wanna ask him too.
yeah, he's
Um,
really busy this time of year. He puts in
mhm,
fences, so he
yeah.
kind of slows down a little bit more in the fall. But
Well, that was one of the things I wanted to talk to him about.
yeah, yeah,
I noticed that when one of my and it's kind of going about Jared, one of my favorite videos that you have, at least on
mhm,
YouTube, is I think it's a two-part series with
yep,
Jared. I
yeah,
I've watched that. I don't know how many times I've watched that. That one and the one, of course, of the one where your wife is doing the spearing setup. That I've watched that so many times, and I have a lot of questions. We're gonna get to that.
yeah,
But I love watching the one with you and Jared because it's 2 friends. Like, this it's like the epitome of what I love about this. I don't know if you'd call it community
yeah,
world, the small world of darkhouse spearing
hmm,
and ice fishing. It's like we're bonded with all of the other people because it's this weird thing that people
yeah,
think it's weird. But to watch you guys collaborate on a decoy, make it, and seeing you learn new techniques, new tips and tricks from him, and maybe him in the other way. It's super cool for me to watch that because it's like it's wholesome,
yeah,
it's it's genuine, and I appreciate that kind of content. It's not AI. Like that's the
yeah,
beauty of what we're doing. It's not AI. We're real life people sitting over a big hole on the ice watching fish.
yeah.
It's not AI generated. But the one with your wife, I unedited version, how long did it take her?
Uh, I mean, and the funny thing is the ice was probably 6 inches or less. I would say it was probably 5 or 6 inches. So it, for me, it would have taken probably less than 5 minutes to cut that hole, but it probably took her a good 15 to 20 minutes, I'd say. It was really hard for me to watch. The story behind that whole thing is I had a I had a procedure done.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know if I can say it, but I had a
Sure.
vasectomy done,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, "No strenuous activity." And I'm like, "Well, it's spearing season. I want to get on the ice." She's like, "If you do this, if you go through this, I will make sure you get out on the ice." And I said, "All right." And she's a stickler. She's a stickler for the rules. And so she said, "I will cut your hole for you." I'm like, "All right, this will be kind of fun to watch." And so yeah, she did everything there. I my brother-in-law was even standing by. I think we were just laughing at her most of the time, but it was good experiences. Let her see, because she's never involved a whole lot with the
Mhm.
setting up, cutting the hole part. Um,
So she walked
you know,
away from it with a new appreciation for when you say I'm going spearing, it's not
yeah,
you're not just out on a holiday vacation. It's a lot of work. There's work involved.
yeah, yeah. I think she does. I think she's seen the blocks on the side of the house now and said, "Oh, yeah, that's a lot of work." But no, she's a good sport. She really is. She supports me in every aspect, which is not always easy to find.
Yeah,
She lets me go spearing. She lets me, make decoys. She knows how important it is. So I've been blessed that way.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you purposely let her continue cutting that hole with the saw without the locking pin in just to watch her struggle? Was that on purpose or
I don't use the locking pin very often because
oh,
nothing against icesaw.com, Jordan Gunnison, but those locking pins, they only last for so long. You're always putting new ones in. But I've used it enough so that I know how to use a nice saw
yeah.
without a locking pin. She probably that was her first time. So I maybe it wasn't on purpose, but I could see why it was probably a little more difficult that way. So yeah.
I enjoyed it. For whatever it's worth, I enjoyed watching the struggle.
Yeah.
That was to me that was like real TV right there. Like watch her, and knowing I know, like I kind of like you, I know what it takes and with the saw and
Yeah.
this and that. But when it just kept flopping, I'm like, it makes me laugh every time.
It's
And I've
funny
watched that
because
video so many times.
I don't know if you knew Wayne Bembo, the guy that made those saws forever, but
Mm,
um he saw that video and I don't think he was really impressed. He's gone now. He died
yeah,
last year, but I don't think he was really impressed with that video because he kind of made a comment to me. He's like, she made it look a little harder than it's supposed to. And I said, "Yeah, I know, I get it, Wayne, but uh,
but at the same time, I, she's a petite woman, it seems like, and she was able to do it, right?
yeah,
So to me, that was like that was the other part of the aspect of that I really enjoyed that video. It's like it's not just guys that do this. I know
yeah,
plenty of females that go spearing and they're out there cutting the holes. It's that stigma of it's just a bunch of Minnesota guys or guys in general. It's like, well, it's not. It's for anybody. Anybody can do it. It's like anybody can cook,
yeah.
except for
No,
me.
and she's stronger than she looks, but, we have a little spearing tournament we do every winter, and Melissa Shockman, she's another decoy carver, she comes to it. She's, right now, currently the only girl that's doing it,
Okay.
and she can hang. She can hang with any of us, she's come pregnant before, and she's cut her own holes, so you don't definitely the women can definitely do this. It's not a man's sport by any means, but, yeah. I think
Yeah.
the whole thing with, I mean, it's the hardest aspect of spearing is cutting the hole, especially in January, February. It's a lot of people say it's a young man's sport at that point, but um it's really technique and having the tools available now. That's one thing that we've talked with some of my friends. It's like my grandpa, I went spearing with him one time before he passed away. He died a few days later. Been spearing all his life. He was 70 some years old. And he was back then, it was back in the 80s. He was using a chisel. We didn't have an ice auger,
Right.
we didn't have
Yeah.
an ice saw, and he was out chiseling all of us. He was was just a Superman when he did it. But you think about it, and I can't imagine spearing past January 1st. It's like I wouldn't chisel a hole that has 10 inches of ice unless I had a really, really sharp chisel.
Right.
know, and these guys, some of them were doing it into February with 2 feet of ice. It took them hours. I mean, we have Amish people that live around here, and you
Mhm.
watch them; they're doing the same thing. So spearing has stayed the same for the most part. There's not a lot of new technical equipment that we're using. We're using decoys, spears, and sometimes like a spinning thing down there, which they had
Yep.
back then too. But um, the only thing that has made change in spearing is the equipment that we use to cut a hole, and it's made it way more available to everybody that way.
Mhm.
You don't have to work your butt off
Yeah.
all day just to go spearing, which I commend those guys for doing that. But
And
um,
I've done it. I'm sure you've done it too. Y
yeah,
there's always those times the auger breaks down, runs out of
yeah,
gas, runs out of propane, battery dies because it's
yeah.
35 below out.
Mm.
Um, at what point is the ice depth to a point where you say, "I'm too old for this. I'm not cutting a hole today."
When it's nearing 3 feet of ice, I went out to Devil's Lake one time with my brother-in-law in late. It would have been second weekend of March. It was the last weekend of spearing out there because it's always the second week, I think. There was 3 feet of ice, and we cut one hole, and it wasn't very good. So we cut one more, and I told him, I said, "That's the last one. I don't care if we see fish anymore, because even with equipment at that point,
Yeah.
that's a lot of work."
It
You know.
it is. I had for the first year ever this past winter, I had a permanent spear house out on a lake,
Mhm.
and then I had more portables, but that was the nicest thing. I could just go in, open the door, maybe chisel it out, but then I let it
Mhm.
sit for a little too long, work got busy, life got busy, and I
Yep.
got out there, I'm like and it was a really cold stretch, I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't chisel this, there's at least 2 feet of ice on in this." And I think I sat down I've never felt so old. I think I sat down a good 6 or 7 times, like, "Holy cow," and I was using an auger, like, drilling the holes with the auger
Yeah.
and then using the saw, and I still had to sit down like, "Man, this is why December and early January, and then you switch to walleye."
Yep. Yeah, and it's probably a little different down in the cities. I know up here we get a little bit more ice.
Yeah,
So we're able to get out a little bit earlier, and then the ice gets a lot thicker quicker. But um, yeah, it's definitely. I don't know. We spear all year, and I have the same situation. We have I kind of run two houses. We have a dark house chapter up here that I'm president of, but we bought a house for the chapter that anyone who's part of the chapter can use, and
okay,
so I try to keep both of those holes open. I did find that using a nice saw in the house, up to like 6 to 8 inches is pretty slick. I'd never used a nice saw before. I'd usually just try to chisel it out, but it actually worked out pretty good that way.
nice.
But yeah, if you
Yeah,
can get
that's
out
cool.
there enough just to keep the ice under 2 inches or 3 inches makes a big difference.
Yeah, it certainly does. But, I mean, it is also nice to just even though the hole is solid,
Yeah.
you have a spot, like, I know I have my favorite spots.
Right.
One of the things I would love to do more this winter is get on more lakes to do the dark house spearing. I'm a creature of habit, and
Hmm.
I know where the fish are on the couple lakes that I do it, and that's where I go because when you're streaming, people wanna watch fish, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think and we're gonna talk about this in a second, but the video that I watched, that I think it was the Story TV did on you that, called
Oh yeah.
Anchor.
Yeah.
You talk about in that video, you talk about how it's like watching a high definition TV, and
Hmm.
that's really what it is. And I guess one of the things that we didn't do that we probably should do for those viewers and listeners that don't know what the hell we're talking about as far as dark house spearing goes, quick high level, you'll probably do justice for it that I won't, but it's ice fishing. You're on ice, you're on a frozen lake, and you cut the holes vary in size. Some are big, some are small. I don't know what your sizes are. Mine, I'm usually around a 2 to 3 feet ish, give or take.
Yep.
Um, and you sit in a house that is dark, completely dark, and you
Mhm.
stare down the hole with a decoy, and you wait for the northern pike or the rough fish, but mostly northern pike, to come into the decoy, and you throw what I would call, people have on my stream have called, it's like a trident
Mhm.
spear. And the one thing that I don't know how you describe it to people that don't know anything about it, but the one way I describe it, because everybody always asks, well, how do you stay hidden from the fish? And the way I've always explained it is, it's like standing outside of your house at night when the lights are on in the house. If you're
Mhm.
standing outside the house looking through the window and it's light inside, you can see everything. But if you're standing on the inside of the house and you're looking out to the dark, you can't see it. So that's always the best way that I've learned how to explain to people what it's like. Um, it's probably not exact, but I don't know, it's about it's about as good as I can do. Is there a different way that you would describe dark house spearing, and what, and the kind of like what it's like and how it kind of works?
Yeah, I always I'm not I don't I've never been in a play or anything, but I have been on stage when the lights are on. And
Mm.
what it always reminds me of is being on the stage with those lights shining into your eyes. You can't see the audience,
Right.
but the audience can see you. And so and that's kind of the whole concept, is that the light is in the hole. The fish are not seeing what's in the dark. And spearing so much like, and I don't archery hunt, so I don't know this, but I'm assuming it's a lot like, you're bow hunting, you're hidden somewhere,
Yep.
and they just don't know you're there, and the spear's coming from above. They're not really looking above them a whole lot. There's times where you can spook a fish pretty easily, even when you have it completely dark in there. But
Yep.
it's funny. I've had the door open in my fish house too, and they'll come right in the hole. They don't even care sometimes.
Yep.
It's really weird, but
It is. I've had we were spearing on Winnie, and I think we had the door open, like we had just set up. We were
yeah,
still scooping the hole out, and the door was open. And I had a nice sized muskie come into the hole. I'm like, what are you doing here? Get out of here.
yeah.
Don't you know it's supposed to be dark? There's too much light. You're not supposed to come in yet. Go away. So being on stream with my spearing, I get a lot of people ask a lot of questions,
Mhm.
and I get a lot of, I wouldn't say hate, um, but there's there's a little bit of that. I'm friends with muskie fishermen. Muskie fishermen absolutely hate the fact that I speared, especially spear on lakes with muskies.
Yeah.
Responsible, in my opinion, we're responsible outdoors people. If you're going to do the dark house spearing, you need to understand the difference between a northern pike and a muskie, and you need to be able to identify that before you throw your spear. And if you can't, well, then maybe you should get fined. That's my take. Uh, but I get a lot of people. It's like, you can't do that. That's illegal. It's like, well, it's not. Learn the rules and regulations of your state.
Mhm.
Um, do you run into that a lot? Do you get people like, how can you do that? Why would you do that? So when you get asked that question, why do you spearfish?
Um, well, for me, it's more about it's not necessarily about the harvest so much. It's it's a family tradition in my family. My grandpa, my mom's dad, taught my father how to spear. And my dad would take me out spearing as a young kid, and now I'm taking my children out. And this has been going on, not just in my family, but for other families, 100 some years. So it's more of a tradition. Um, it's kind of like deer hunting in a way, with the tradition in that it's not always about shooting a deer.
Yep.
It's the experience can be a solitude activity. I mean, you can make it as solitude as you want, but spearing with people is where I have a lot of fun. Bringing people that have never gone before, and or
Yep.
taking family out, spending time with my kids, spending time with my friends. Just sitting around in a dark house, looking at a hole and talking and getting into some pretty deep conversations. The most of the hate I've ever got is on YouTube when I posted a video. Um, and for me, I've had this conversation with many people. it's a legal way to take a fish. I can't take any more fish than you can take with a rod and reel. I don't think people quite understand the amount of work that goes into spearing. I am not somebody that goes out and spears a lot of fish. I'm not against anybody who wants to spear those fish and eat them. I have no
Yep.
problem with that. I don't like frozen fish, so I go out and my wife would be like, "Hey, can we have some fish for supper tonight?" And I'll say, "I'll do what I can." I might spear 3 fish that day, but then for the majority of the time I'm out spearing, I'm looking at them,
Yeah.
and people think that's weird too, but it's like, no, I just enjoy being out here watching the fish, watch how they react. And a
Yeah.
lot of people that I spear with, they feel the same way. It's, I don't know too many people anymore that go out and just hammer the fish. And there's nothing against that if you're going to be eating them or you're going to feed your family or feed a friend, whatever it is. But um, I feel like the old school mindset of going out and spearing the biggest fish you can get all the time and make sure you get your limit and have a bunch of limit, that's few and far between now.
Right.
And as far as the whole muskie thing, trying to recognize a muskie in the water. I don't hunt ducks, but I see ducks all the time. And if I was a duck hunter or wasn't a duck hunter and I said, "How in the heck do you figure out what kind of duck you're shooting?"
Yep.
I would feel the same way, but
Yep.
obviously if you do it enough, you know what you're doing. And that's
Yeah.
where education comes down to. You're taking these people out, you're like, "Hey, we're in a muskie lake. This is what they look like. They're pretty easy to spot if you're really looking, and just don't throw the spear until you know." I mean,
Right.
just like
Yep.
if you're shooting during deer hunting season, you got to make sure you know what you're shooting,
Yep.
So that argument to me is pretty light, but you know, it's a legal way of fishing, and I feel fortunate that I live in a state where we can do it, and I hope it never goes away. And I just think, I hope people just manage it. I've heard a lot of arguments too that uh, catching fish by a hook, there's a lot of mortality in that, and people
For
don't think
sure.
twice. Catch crappies in the winter, and you're pulling them out of deep water. Well, I see what happens to the walleyes up at Lake of the Woods or crappies. They hard to get down the hole, and then
Yep.
what's happened to them afterwards. So,
Yep.
um,
And
yeah,
even
that's kind
even now in the summer, I mean, with the water temperatures where they're at, I mean, there's a lot of lakes just will not go and fish right now
yeah,
because even if you catch a pike in 10 feet of water,
mm,
man, I don't know that the fish is going to survive right now.
no,
And I mean, you're seeing pictures every week of these lakes where there's just tons of
yeah,
pike just floating on shore, and
yeah.
it's sad. It's too bad.
It's too bad too, and I'm not hating on musky fishermen. I get why they're concerned. I just hope they ask questions and reach out to people that spear and just say, "Hey, what's it all about?" And just get educated on it.
Yep.
Like I said, I think for the most part we're all sportsmen and we respect the game we're going after, and we don't want to see them decimated any more than anyone else. So,
Right.
um,
Yep. Agreed.
yeah,
I like the way I like the duck analogy. That's actually a really good analogy I've not heard before, but that is spot on. I'm the same way. One of the reasons I don't hunt ducks because I don't like to shoot and kill things that I don't want to eat, and I just don't
sure,
prefer to eat ducks. So I'm not going to go kill ducks if I'm not going to eat them. Pike, I would if I didn't eat pike, if I didn't like pike, I
yeah,
wouldn't go spearing. Right? I'm not gonna
right,
because when I'm fishing, whether it's ice fishing or open water, I'm most of the time I'm catch and release.
yeah,
Uh, so I'm the same way. I go because I think it's so cool to sit
mhm,
and watch whether it's and deer hunting for me, it's very similar to deer hunting because you're sitting there, like you saying, you're hidden, they don't know you're there, ideally, and you're watching that species in its natural habitat
yeah,
reacting to what you're doing with the decoy, the if something else moves, another fish that comes in, it never ceases to amaze me the difference of like normally when I was growing up, when we were spearing, it was well, you see perch. As soon as you see the perch disperse, well, keep an eye out, which is true, of course. But I tell you what, this last year, I've never seen so many pike in my hole with
mm,
bass and with
yeah,
bluegills. And I was like, what is happening? I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone because I've never seen this before, but it was almost every time I was on the ice, I was seeing pike in the hole with other fish, which was kind of crazy to me.
Yep.
Um, have you ever I talked to the DNR when I pulled my house off last February. At the end of the season, the DNR called me because I had my house sitting on the landing, and I was like, "Okay, riddle me this." I didn't know the answer. I don't know if you do or would know. I said, "Can I still set up a portable, cut a spear hole, and put a decoy down? It's artificial, right? Just don't
Mhm.
put a live decoy down with a hook, but put a decoy down and just watch." And the DNR guy was like, "What are you smoking?" Like, "What do you mean? Why?" He's
Yeah.
like, "Why would you do that?" I'm like, "Why wouldn't you? It's
Mhm.
so cool. It's so cool to just
Yeah.
watch the fish. So why wouldn't you? As long as it's legal, I'm gonna do it." He's like, "I don't do whatever you want. As long as you're not
Yeah.
trying to, with no spear, no hook or
Right.
whatever, as long as you're not targeting them to catch them." Like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is you don't have a spear in there, or if
Right.
it's, past season, you don't have a hook in there. I don't see why you can't. I've never asked a DNR. I have thought about it, like just going out and seeing what the Northerns are doing in March.
Right.
Are they feeding more? Are they coming in shallower? Like it would be interesting to know, but um,
Yep.
yeah, I can't figure out any reason why you wouldn't be able to. Um,
I did. I'm going to. I'm gonna continue to
yeah,
do it. I didn't want to do it and then all of a sudden I get, because what
yeah,
if I'm streaming live, all it takes is one person be like, "Hey, this
right,
guy's out there," and now I'm in trouble. And I'd rather not be in trouble. So,
yeah.
um, before we get into talking carving, which is ultimately the reason I wanted to talk to you, but spearing in general, it's nice to. I don't have friends that spear, so it's nice to get in contact with somebody that knows it, enjoys it, and does it. Because I
Mm,
feel like, hey, finally, have somebody to talk to about this stuff. Everybody else I talk to, they're like, I'm not doing that. That's
yeah.
dumb. I'm gonna go catch walleyes. Okay. I'm gonna fire a bunch of questions at you. Hole cutting tools. Do you have a preference? Do you do you use an auger to drill certain amount of holes and then use the ice saw? Is it strictly cut one hole and then use the saw to cut the rest of the hole? Do you ever use a chainsaw? Are you pro chainsaw, anti chainsaw?
So I will go without having to use a auger as long as I can, which probably is around 6 to 8 inches. Um, and I'll just ice saw the whole thing, or if it's thin enough, I'll drill one hole and cut it. But once it gets up to the 10-inch range, then I'm cutting holes in the corners and whatever. Once it gets to 2 feet, then I'm drilling a bunch of holes. I'm not dumb and just gonna. I want to fish fast, so that's what I'm doing.
Yep.
Unless I'm trying to go light wherever I'm going. But um, what was the other question? Was
Chainsaws.
chainsaws? Yeah. So I haven't really been into chainsaws. My dad did use a chainsaw off and on, and I actually just bought a ice off from the blue blade there,
Yep.
icesaw.com, a longer one, and it's the 50 inch, I think.
I saw that on his website. Yeah.
Yep, and that actually makes a big difference when the ice is a little thicker, like 2 feet. You can
Sure.
cut way faster, and it's not as hard. You have a longer stroke when you're
Yep.
going in. So, I've actually cut way thicker ice now, without as many holes, this past year. The chainsaw, we have a vet's day on the ice with our chapter up here, and, my buddy Jared came up here to help, and then a buddy of mine 2 years ago, from down the cities that makes decoys, he also came up. They both had chainsaws, and, I got to we watched them cut the holes, and I think the trick to that is cutting it backwards, not forward. So, um,
Yeah. Yep.
those guys were able to go through a lot of ice really quickly with that. And then my another buddy up here who's got a big Ranger with tracks, he built this little T wedge that he slips through a hole, and he just backs those big chunks. I mean, over 2 feet of ice, just backs them right out. So the work and the speed of cutting a hole was so fast.
Hmm.
Uh, when the ice gets over 24 inches, the
Yeah.
chainsaw Yeah, I think that's kind of the way to go if you have the long bar.
Right. Yep.
Um,
I've only used a chainsaw once or twice, and I've
yeah,
never been so wet in my
yeah,
life. Uh,
yeah. I don't think I would use one
mm,
personally. I just don't want to bring that out.
it's
But
heavy.
if my
They're
buddy's
heavy.
got one,
Well, yeah, right, right.
you know,
You pack it in
uh,
your sled. I don't have to pull it out or lift it.
yeah. But when you're cutting, we have 10 guys come out, so we're cutting 8 to 10 holes on one day or 2 days. Chainsaw at that late in the year, definitely. Yeah.
So when you were talking about the little tournament that you do, I'm assuming you're referring to the Whitefish Invitational.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is that whitefish as in whitefish chain by Cross Lake?
Yes,
Okay.
it's held on the whitefish chain. You can only spear on the whitefish chain, and I feel like there's like 13 lakes that are in that, or maybe
Yep.
there's more. But yeah, whitefish or northern. We used to have a category for rough fish, but I think we were having trouble getting them, so we dropped that one. But yeah, it's whitefish and northerns. We have a one time tournament where you're trying to spear the smallest northern,
I
which is
saw that.
actually a lot of fun.
I've never tried one time, but it sounds like a blast.
It's hard,
Yeah.
but once you kinda get it, a lot of those little ones will come up a little bit higher too, so, um, it's
Yeah,
fun.
they're still dumb at that point.
Yeah, and there's so many small fish down there,
Mhm.
so if you didn't have that part of it, it would be kind of a boring weekend, but,
How many
yeah.
years have you guys been doing that tournament?
Well, they've been doing this way longer than I've been a part of it. So I wanna say it was the 20th anniversary a few years back, so they're probably getting close to 25. It
Okay.
was started by a group of decoy carvers that were at Perham, um, and, they wanted to they judged decoys at that, uh, decoy show, and a lot of the guys were like, "Hey, why don't we have a tournament where the fish are the judges, and so
Right.
it's not always about how pretty they swim or how pretty they look, it's what brings the fish in. And so to me, it's such a cool history part of Minnesota, this tournament. And not a lot of people know about it, but it's bringing carvers from Michigan, Wisconsin, North Dakota, Minnesota. If you make a decoy, you have to be a carver, and you have to spear over your own decoys. If you spear over someone else's decoy, they get credit for it.
Oh,
So,
okay, okay.
mm,
That's a
but
cool idea.
it's just the characters that have been involved in this throughout the years. It's just such a special thing, and I'm so happy to be part of. And it's getting together with a group of guys that have the same interests as you do,
Yep.
and they've just become such good friends, like family almost. And that's kind of how the whole decoy community and spear community, whatever dark house spearing community is. It's just there's such a good group of people that are involved in it. Like you were saying earlier, we had a friend whose dad was sick. Well, people donated money and donated decoys, and that happens all the time. Where if any of those guys had an issue, it wouldn't be in a question. We'd be down there to help them, and it goes both ways. And
Yep.
so it's just a cool thing as far as the historical aspect of it. The people that have been involved in it, some really cool carvers, cool people, and um, I just, I, I just feel very fortunate to be able to be part of it too. So
Yeah, it sounds like something you'd look forward to on a year-to-year basis, so that's
yeah,
something to the
it's right
level
up there
you.
with deer hunting for me.
Yeah.
It's something I put on my calendar and make sure I can go.
Yep.
So
That you would never forget what weekend it's on,
no,
right?
well, I did. I have. You must have heard that somewhere.
I might have had a little birdie tell me a little story about you forgetting about your super special spearing tournament. It's
Yeah,
which is why I had to bring it up. I'm gonna poke fun at you if I can. But I've been there. It's not hard to do to forget something like that. You
yeah,
think it's one weekend, then you realize, oh, that's
yeah,
actually that's actually in 2 days from now. That's great.
yeah. That was quite a panic. Yeah, I
It
had to
sounded
pack
like it.
pretty fast and get out for work and everything else. So
Ice chunks. Do
Hmm.
you have a preference? Is it pushed below, pull out? Is it depend on the thickness of the ice, the water, the lake that you're on? What is it? Would you have a preference?
I push them under myself as long as I can, and then when they get too thick to push under, I break them up, pull them off, and then make sure I push them in. Obviously, when I'm
Yep.
done.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but yeah, no, I like pushing them in. I know when it gets a little thicker, I kind of wonder, but I try to push them as far as I can. And I know in Wisconsin they got these push poles, and I've been meaning to make one
Oh.
that you can really get them underneath you. They do it for sturgeon spearing.
Oh yeah.
They have some big long poles that they use, and they give them a big push. Um, I haven't really noticed that it affects the spearing much. I think as long as it's not right next to your hole where it's blocking the view,
The
you
view.
know. But
Yep. Yep. I've never done any research on it. Um, depending on what old timer you talk to, it's no, don't do that because it's going to scare the fish away and this and that.
yeah,
Uh, when I've attempted, like tried, to this time I'm going to push it under. I've never really noticed any difference between
yeah,
the activity of the fish, whether I don't see fish or see fish.
yeah.
Uh, I was just curious.
I've always wanted to put an underwater camera under and push a block not too far away so you can see it, and then just
Yep.
watch it over the weeks and see how much it melts because
Yeah.
obviously the water under there's below or over freezing, so it has to melt at some point. I don't know
Yep.
how long it takes it, but um, yeah,
I bet not too long. I bet not too long.
no, no.
Might have to do that this winter for
Yeah.
science, just for
A-
science.
And the other thing, I've speared on really clear ice before, and I've watched how far away those ice chunks will go,
Yep.
especially when it's not really thick. They go
Yep.
quite a
Yep.
ways,
Yeah, oh,
so I
yeah.
don't feel like that's an issue at all. But I just
Push it.
don't like my blocks freezing down and then having to put them
Oh,
back.
it's the
I've done
worst.
that,
Yep.
so
It's the word. Then you're trying to chisel your block of
yeah.
ice off the ice, and you got guys yelling at you, and oh yeah, it's never fun. How many spears do you own?
Oh man. I probably own it's gotta be around 20-ish, I don't know, just
Dang.
off the top of my head. I collect a certain spear, and so I've collected a lot of them. There's, 2 bachelors up here. They probably lived maybe 3 miles away from where I sit right now, and they are blacksmiths, and they made a spear up here for about 20, 25, 30 years maybe at the most, back in the '60s and '70s. And so I started collecting them because I got my grandpa's
Yep.
and, kinda got the bug, and so I started hunting for them, and just like everyone else does up here now, they're just almost impossible to get anymore, but, so I own quite a few of them, but, um, I've kinda stopped collecting spears for the most part. Now I look for spears that I maybe would use because the ones that I have collected, I don't really use, so
Right.
if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, no, there's so many good spear makers now, that, it's kind of fun to own one from each one of them. But,
Yeah.
um,
I need to start my collection. I'm not going to say that too loud, but I need to start my
yeah,
collection. Same with decoy. Unfortunately, I lose more decoys than I don't.
really.
Um, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. It's you dropped your heater right down the
I
hole.
I did. Man,
That
you've done some research here. Holy cow, yeah.
of course
That
I have.
wasn't my fault, but,
It never
um,
is.
yeah, I was spearing down by the whitefish chain there, and I don't even think it was windy that day, and me and a buddy were sitting in there, and I had my buddy heater on the floor and my decoy hanging down and my spear tied. It was a hub, so you have to pretty much tie everything to the hub, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I think the wind was actually blowing from the opposite direction, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a big gust of wind came from the opposite side and totally it felt like we got hit by a car. Took that hub and blew it right over, and everything in the house, well, I know the buddy heater for sure just went right into the hole, and It was one of the older buddy heaters. I think it's over 20 years old.
Oh, what?
And
Yeah,
so I
one of the
pulled it
older ones.
out. I think I had a backup with me and used that the rest of the weekend. I brought it back home, dried it out, gave it probably 10 clicks, and it started right back up, and I still use it. So
No.
it's not like the new ones where you shake them too much and they don't work anymore, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about dropping anything down my spear holes. It's never happened ever at all. And when it has happened, it's similar. It's been
Yeah.
either some random person comes into my house and threatens my life and says, "I'm gonna throw this in the hole." It's never my fault. It's never been my fault. Um, have you ever fallen in?
I have. I
Yeah, I
have.
did too. It's not fun.
I went to so you were talking earlier about trying different lakes. Well, one of the things that me and my brother-in-law every once in a while will do, or I'll do on my own, is try a small lake. Because every once in a while you can luck out and find some really good numbers of fish. And
Mhm.
most of the time you're striking out. But so I went on my own. I want to say it was the middle to end of January. I know there was over 2 feet of ice everywhere out here. And so I'm like, I'm pretty safe to go out on these lakes I don't really know. And I went out to check to see if it was cloudy or not. It was on some wildlife. So you had to walk out to the spot. And I had my auger with a chisel and probably a scoop. And for some reason in the back of my mind, I thought, you know what? I'm getting an eerie feeling about this. So I dropped my auger and just went out with my chisel. And I walked out probably, I don't know, 20 yards. And all of a sudden I fell right through the
Oh,
ice
right
up to
through.
I grabbed on with my arms. And it was 20 below ish that day. It
Oh.
was cold. And so I was like, well, okay, what do I do? So I kind of backed myself out, got off the ice, and my pants froze immediately.
Mhm.
So I grabbed my stuff and walked a mile back to my truck. And I just couldn't figure out when I talked to somebody about it. And they said, I think that was a beaver run, where the beavers were probably,
Oh.
because it didn't make any sense to me why. But that actually has kind of put a little bit of fear in me with ice now. I don't drive cars unless I have to on the ice. That's just my personal thing. And I've fallen through with my four wheeler too. That was my fault. I have a channel. I live on a lake up north here, and
Mhm.
there's a channel that connects two lakes. And I was driving on the edge of the channel. It was early. There was probably 6 inches of ice. There was enough for a four wheeler anyway, at least around the edge.
Mhm.
And when I got to the other lake, for some reason, I kinda just didn't pay attention, and I drove right into the mouth of the channel, and as soon as I was like, "Uh-oh, I probably shouldn't be here," my side of my four-wheeler fell in. I jumped off. Luckily, it was close enough to shore where we were able to pull it right out, but those 2 instances has really changed my way.
Yeah.
I didn't care before, like, I would go out on anything. I still go out on probably 4 inches of ice, but um, I'm pretty smart about it now. Especially now my kids spear with me, so I don't take any chances at all. That's
Yep.
really changed a lot of how I spear now too. But
For sure. For
yeah,
sure. How about the
yeah,
spear hole? Have you fallen in the spear hole when you're in your shack?
I have
Mhm.
once.
Mhm.
It was a center hole, pretty big one, and the door was on one side, and I tried to walk across it, and I tripped and fell in the hole that way. But yeah,
I had 2 years ago, I had I was in a hub, so I
mhm,
wasn't smart enough to tie things down, so I just had one of those green, like, fold out rod holders on the
yeah,
ground with my rod with the and I'm a bastard. I do like to use live decoys as well as artificial decoys at the
hmm,
same time. Some people think that's blasphemous, but I find it to be it's more fun for me, so whatever. You don't like it, don't do it. Uh, a pike came in, grabbed the live sucker, and took off. And in went my it pulled it so hard, the rod holder and the rod went down, and I was sitting in my chair, and I had my camera was mounted above, I was streaming, and it's just instinct. I went, "Oh god," and I went down to reach for my rod, and my momentum just carried me right into the hole and down go it was like not that I've ever done this when I was in college, but, it's like if you got a cup of beer in your hand and
Mhm.
You may have had too many of those, and next thing you know, you fall over, but you keep that beer held and it doesn't spill. That was like my microphone, my camera, everything was like had my arms up. I'm holding all my electronics. Meanwhile, I'm chest deep in the hole. I'm like, oh
Mhm.
god, that was a close call. So, I think I scared a bunch of people that day because it was all live, and then of
Yeah.
course everything cut out, and I'm pretty sure everybody thought I died. I think that was what
Yeah.
happened. And right when they started throwing the party of the fact that I died, then I came back live, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, okay, well, that makes for a better story, I guess. I guess who knows." Do you change the decoys that you use based on water, lake, water clarity, the depth that you're in, or like do you switch up the colors, or is there like one go-to that you just, I mean, obviously the one that I'm biased on, I think a lot of guys are just red and white. I love red and white. It's just to me, it's
Mhm.
classic, it's old school, it's classic, and you can put so many different spins on that red and white.
Yeah.
But I've had perch, I've had bluegill, I've had all sorts of different colors, pink, bright pink. Um, do you have one that you feel like that's your go-to color other than red and white?
Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't leave the house without a red and white myself, but blue and silver for me has been really, really good. I, uh I really have had a lot of luck. I have one decoy, actually, I think I retired it now, but it's like a lot of silver and then a little bit of blue on it, and, is a white fish, about 8 inches long, and every single northern that would come into the hole on that one would hit it in the head. I don't know if it I think that's how they stun prey, when they come in,
Mm,
they'll come and hit them close to the head and try to knock them out, and then they come around, and then will swallow them head first.
right.
And for some reason on that decoy, they always every single time would hit it in the head. It's got tooth marks in it. It's just it's a I don't know. And I like gold. I like a lot of metallics in my decoys, if I'm gonna use them. So gold and orange has always been good too. I'm kind of a creature of habit too. I'm gonna try my favorites, and if they don't
Yep.
work, then I'll start digging down a little deeper. Uh,
Yep.
so I don't know. I know I would just assume that you would use brighter colors when the water's a cloudier and stuff like that. But I I've been spearing for since I was yeah, I've been spearing for like almost 40 years, probably 35, 40 years, and I can tell you I have not figured them out. Like as much as you think you're good, you have those days where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. They're not coming in, they're not reacting. So
Yep.
I'm
I
always
did
willing to listen to other people and
I
what they
had
are.
I don't remember who it was. One of my last, it was a late season. It was towards the end of February. I had somebody come into my live stream, and they were also there. I think they're from South Dakota. They do a lot of
Yeah,
spearing in South Dakota, and he's in like 20 feet clear water, which is it's foreign to me, that concept.
yeah.
But uh, I completely lost my train of thought. What the hell were we talking about?
About the, color of the decoy or what you use
Oh
normally.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Um, he was noticing. He was noticing that I had a live decoy, and he's like, "I never use live decoy towards the end of the season. I use them more towards the beginning of the season." And
Mhm,
I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I kind of always use as long as the bait shop has them, I'm gonna take one." Um, but he was noticing as he was watching over the weeks that I was getting a lot more action than he was expecting late in the season on a live decoy.
mhm.
And I thought that was interesting. I never really even thought about that, but I suppose as you get closer to that spawn time, they might be
Yeah.
feeding a little bit differently, and I never really considered that.
Yeah, that would make sense, like, up at Lake of the Woods in March, they're using those dead what are they using? Dead herring or whatever
Yep,
they buy at the grocery store. They're feeding before they spawn up there, and
yep,
but I I don't know if it's just me or it's just something that I've thought about, and I'm sure other people have noticed too, but like early in the year for us, at least up here, the fish are active. They're moving, the big fish are out and they're in attack mode. As the season goes on, they're very sluggish. They don't like movement. They will leave as soon as you hit a decoy, they will gone.
Yep.
And I so later in the year, probably starting in January sometime, a lot of times I'm just leaving the decoy down there and just letting it sit. And once in a while, just giving a little nudge and then just letting it sit because I feel like, there's that rumor that they're losing teeth or I think their gums are getting swollen. I think that's what's
Right.
happening, or they're growing teeth or whatever it is. They don't seem to want to feed or bite. So they're coming in just out of curiosity
Yep.
and they really don't want anything to move when they're down there. Now you will have days where they will, but
Oh, for
or
sure.
lakes maybe that they're moving, but
Yep.
on the lake that I'm on for the most part, most of the winter, it really shuts down and so just leaving it is kind of what I've started doing. Um,
Though I have one friend that does spearing with me every once in a while, and he's a very fidgety person.
yeah.
So love him to death. You love him to death, but he can't resist. He's sitting there. He can't resist but grab that. I'm like, I have to slap his hand. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop, stop. You don't need
Yeah.
to move the decoy every 3 minutes. Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. I know it's not cool. I know it's fun to make it swim and do all that, but stop it. Get your
Mhm.
hands off that thing. Okay, so carving. I had this goal probably 2 years ago. Like, I'm gonna carve my own decoy. And I have made some attempts. And I've carved some, I guess, I don't know what the definition of carving because it's Dremel versus carving. Um, I did watch one of King Louis's videos the other day of
Isn't
the
that
frogs.
cool?
It's incredible. That dude's
I love
incredible.
his videos. Oh my gosh, the eye one for me was mind blowing.
What?
I
Are you
just thought he was
serious?
the coolest person in the world.
That is
Yeah.
so cool. I was watching him like, I felt my goal for myself was lofty, just getting a decoy made
Yeah.
that goes down and stays there. That would be my goal. But this guy's
That's all you
making his
need.
own eyeballs. It's like,
Yeah.
holy balls, that is amazing. That is so
He
cool.
he has got so many cool stories and I've always wanted to put him on a podcast because I've heard stories and I've asked him, so I'm pretty sure they're true. But he used to go out in a tent in the middle of winter and live out there for a while and that's I think he just enjoyed it, but he would still carve decoys out there. And someone told me one time that he was using an airbrush, but he didn't have any power. So he was taking an inner tube and hooking a tube up to that airbrush and he was pushing on that tube and getting air to come out. And he was spray painting his decoys with that inner tube. And I'm like, that is the coolest, weirdest thing I've ever heard someone say. And
Yeah.
when you watch his videos, he's not always using the fanciest tools. He's using
Oh,
what works for him. And I don't know. He's definitely a blast from the past. That guy. He's doing it old school most of the time.
yeah,
So
he really is. I think that was the part that I loved the most. He's like, "Oh,
yeah,
I have this old, and he reaches around, he grabs
yeah,
an old tin can, and he's like, I got this for me right here. I'm just gonna put this on there, and then my eyes are in the
yeah,
same spot. I'm like, that's brilliant. That's
yeah,
brilliant. But I mean, when I was watching you and Jared too, I was picking up on a lot of things.
yeah.
I find what you guys are able to do. I aspire to it. I don't want to sell them. I want to make some. I want to make at least one decoy. My goal at some point is to make one decoy that I use that I spear a fish with a decoy that I made. That's my goal. I'll get there, maybe with some of your guys' help, but I'm gonna get there. Like you were saying earlier, it's probably not gonna look like the prettiest thing. I'm no artist, but I just think it would be so cool to use. It's like going and it's a little different than shooting a deer with bullets that you're packing yourself. It's
Mhm,
a little different, but I just think it's so cool. And what you guys are able to pull off is something I would consider art.
mhm,
Um, I would love to have a wall of decoys just sitting on my wall on shelves just so I can look at them because I think they're pieces of art. And it's one of the reasons I'm gun shy about using good decoys when I'm actually on the ice
mhm.
because they're not cheap, and they're special. Like, to me, every single one of them is special.
Yeah.
They're not like when you guys are making those spears or the decoys, they're every one is going to be slightly different. There's always going to be a little imperfection here or there, and that to me gives it that character, which plays into the whole historical aspect of dark house spearing and what it's kind of always been and what it means to people. I find it amazing, and
Yeah.
I appreciate all of the work that you guys do with your decoys and making them look tremendous. I someday maybe I'll have a decoy that might look somewhere
Well,
close.
you don't live that far from Jared, I don't think. So
No, I don't. Yeah.
if it ever works out, I know he'd be on board. I'm sure of it. But I get down there occasionally, and I wouldn't even have to be there. But it'd be kind of cool to have you come over to his shop, and we'll just make a decoy. That I mean, that video we made, we do that. We do that frequent no, not frequently. We do that with all our friends where we'll just get together and start working on stuff or paint a decoy together. A lot of times, one of my favorite things to do is do collabs, where just like I did with Jared,
Yeah.
um, is that we work on it together, and it gets a little bit of character from each of us. But yeah, you could ask 100 of the decoy carvers, and 99 of them would be like, "Yep, anytime you want to learn, you just come down. We'll show you the ins and outs." That's what I love a lot about the community is that back when I was getting into it, there was a little bit of secrecy still there because people didn't want to give out their
Mhm.
secrets, which I understand to a point, but it's gotten to be kind of a uh, brotherhood, sisterhood in some cases, but where we want people to learn how to do this. Getting people to learn and see decoys is only beneficial to the community because it keeps spearing could be a dying sport. Decoy making
Mhm.
is definitely becoming a dying art. And so the more people that we can get into that and show them, the more appreciation they'll have for it. It's just plus I love teaching people how to do that kind of stuff. It's
Yep.
just so
And to see, like, I'm the same way. I've taken people out that have never that aren't from Minnesota. They've never heard of dark house spearing, and you bring them into a dark house, and they look down that hole, and it's like their eyes just light up.
yeah.
And it's so fun to just watch them. I don't have to spearfish all winter. If I'm bringing people out there and they're enjoying what they're doing, watching the fish, even spearing the fish, I don't have to touch a spear all year, and I'm perfectly fine. I'm just happy to be out there and watching and
Mhm.
helping people enjoy it. Which is why I would wanted to have a carver on as a guest because I think it's fascinating. I think it's art, uh, and just the thing with dark house spearing. To me, it's just so cool. It's my favorite version of winter fishing. I love ice fishing. I'll go ice fishing any day of the week, but the weekends are my time, man, to get out on when it's daylight. You can fish for walleye at night. You can't go
Right.
spearing at night. But yeah, I would love to meet up with you guys and
Yeah.
just learn shit. I would just sit there and watch and listen and try to learn and absorb all of your guys' knowledge and information. I'm sure we'd have some laughs and maybe a cocktail or two, and
Yeah.
you know, it happens
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. No, that would be really fun. Um, it would I don't know like and we do that before his decoy show. We get together with him and we s- we he has a few people sleeping at his place and we spend most of the time out in his shop. Just
Nice.
kind of working on stuff or just talking about decoys. There's so much knowledge with some of these guys, even the younger guys that collect. It just blows my mind how much they know about decoys.
Yeah.
I make them. I do collect a couple here and there. I don't have a really big collection, but the knowledge that those guys can have on decoys is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I was so scared of the fins and the tail that I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna make a wobbler.
Yep.
And then I realized that there's a lot of physics involved in that, and it would probably take me 100 wobblers until I figured out the right wobble. And instead of just like it would be like my goldfish growing up, just belly up. So I'm like, well, wobblers, maybe that's not the right place to start either.
They are probably the easiest thing to make as far as a decoy goes. If you understand where the weight goes and stuff, you don't have to cut fins.
Yep.
It's you don't have to paint around fins. So there's a lot of steps you can cut out of that whole process. But
Do you like to use a wobbler?
I do. I do love using them, and the guy that I don't know if he invented it. I guess there's probably some that were made back quite a few years ago, but Thane Johnson, he's from the cities. He started out as a lure maker and then got into decoys, but he kind of started it. It's Wigglefish. If you look up cmwiggle.com, uh, he just makes the coolest decoys that I feel like are anyway. And because they have a lot of lure look to them.
Mm,
And
mhm.
he kind of came out with this wiggle fish, is what he called it. And I saw that for the first time. I'm like, holy cow, that is cool because it swims way different than a regular decoy. And
Right, right.
um, so I do use them, and I think they work. Um, they work just as good as a decoy. So
Yeah, I could look at everybody's decoys all day long. The paint jobs that people are able to pull off it's amazing. You guys are
see, that's the
artists.
scariest part for me is the paint.
Oh, for sure. I've just never gotten
I'm
to that
not an
fear yet.
artist, I'm not a painter, I mean, the only reason why I can do a lot of the stuff that I do is because I've done it for so many years that I've learned it, but, there's people there that just have the talent, and they're able to take it to another level, and
Yep.
so,
Yep. All the different effects.
yeah.
I just love watching people do it. Like I said, I could just be a fly on the wall with you guys and just sit my chin in my hands and just admiring all of the things that you guys are pulling off that I know I probably can't.
You could. If I can do it, anyone can do it, quite honestly, for real. That's the truth.
Uh,
If you saw my first decoy that I made, you'd laugh at it. It's horrible, it's ugly, I don't even know if it swims, honestly. It goes down, but I don't think it swims.
That's all right. That's all right. I don't even have fins on any of mine, so I know mine don't swim. Jared, you're not Jared. We're talking about Jared. Ryan, I appreciate you coming on and talking about the decoys, dark house spearing, just in general. Um, I was really I'm glad you came on. I was looking forward to it. Dare I say, I was even partially nervous. Could I say that? Would that be weird?
No, I mean, I was a little nervous too. Podcasts can be intimidating, although when you start talking, it goes away,
Oh yeah,
and that's the thing I like about it is that a podcast can be two guys talking in their garage, and you talk about things you might not normally talk about because you're just talking about stuff,
yeah, shooting the shit, and which is one of the benefits of sitting in a spear house with somebody.
Yeah,
You don't have to sit there and jig, and you're just watching, and you get to
yeah.
talk, and that's for me. That's one of my favorite parts. Just having that camaraderie, like you were saying, and it was one of the reasons I loved the anchored video. It really hit home, kind of how you got started, and we didn't even get into that. We probably could have spent another hour and a half, to be honest, but I'm trying to be respectful of your time. But that connection of decoys and dark house spearing that you had with your dad, that really, like, how dare you make a grown man cry on a Sunday night? When I watched that video, how dare you? But you did, and I did, and it was touching. It was a great video. I appreciate whoever put it together, and I appreciate you doing it and making yourself kind of, vulnerable, from that aspect. It was awesome, and I think it speaks to your character, honestly, um, which is one of the reasons I was even more excited to have you on and to talk to you and to get to know you. Hopefully, in the future, you just seem like an outstanding dude, and that's really the best that anybody can ask for, right?
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for the good interview too. You did your homework and made it really easy to
Good,
talk. So
good.
yeah, I can't wait to meet you in person and we can do that. So
Yeah, I look forward to it.
yeah.
Thanks for being the very first guest
Yes.
on Inside the Outside.
All right. Thank you.